Hello everyone, I am Wing Commander Paramveer Singh and I'm delighted to connect with you all today. I'm very grateful to IMF for this opportunity to be a part of this series, which I've been following with interest since its launch. A bit about myself, I'm a serving officer of the Indian Air Force, an ultra-endurance adventure athlete and a Tenzing Norgay awardee. I've been active in all three elements, air, land and water. I've undertaken ultra-endurance triathlons and duathlons. But as it is evident from my profile, water is my element of choice. And all my major expeditions have been on water. My sea swims usually look like this. Tall heaving waves, high-speed winds making them more turbulent, strong currents pushing and pulling you, jellyfish torturing you with their painful stings. Having done quite a few ultra-distance swims, I was quite confident that I could undertake anything on aqua with ease, especially a river. But then this extraordinary once-in-lifetime swim happened and rearranged all my ideas. I'm still in awe of that experience, and I suspect the passing years will only deepen the wonder. 3 times I have been privileged to explore the Ganga from source to mouth, and each time I have come away more and more fascinated by the rich complexities that this unique river continues to reveal. This route is familiar to all Indians. Ganga begins at Devprayag with merging of Bhagirathi with Alaknanda and flows through 5 states and 3 ecological zones stretching out 2,800 kilometers till Bakhali Beach at the Bay of Bengal. This is ahead of Ganga Sagar. This was also the length and the route of my swimming expedition. The team included 6 rafters and 2 other swimmers who would join me later in the plains. The tricky Himalayan section was solely to be covered by me, and I plunged off into the chilly depth of Devprayag. Those who have rafted in this area can probably gauge the major challenges I faced here, the high-grade rapids and the freezing water, as this was October. After some painful encounters with rock while negotiating violent rapids, I woke up with a significant risk involved here and thought it would be prudent to only swim through the flat portion and low-grade rapids. So briefly, through the turbulent higher grade rapids, I would join up with the rafting team and later dive back into the water once the rapid had eased off. The river begins to flatten out further down the Himalayas closer to the plain. One would have assumed that the flow would be more forgiving here, but the currents here were as strong as ever. In fact, at Rishikesh, the amount of effort it took me to fight the opposing flow and reach the ghats reminded me of my English Channel swims close to the rocks of Frax. As I continued my swim into the plains, the other 2 swimmers joined in, swimming in rotation, while I continued swimming throughout. The rafters accompanied us with supplies and water. We would swim from sun up to sundown for an average of 12 hours every day, sometimes more, till we find the perfect spot to halt for the night. Shortly, we entered the cow belt, which was apt as we were actually swimming with cows here. We were able to cover about 60 to 80 kilometers per day on an average in the killing hot sun. And soon enough, we had our first encounter with a ghadial. It looked peaceful and harmless enough, a fish-eating reptile sunning itself on the bank. But if annoyed, it could charge swiftly and rip us and indeed our raft apart. There was a moment of awed silence before we silently moved on. Later, we would have a close encounter of the truly deadly kind with a crocodile, which was certainly not a fish eater. The Ganga loses its volume at various locations and through its route due to several hundred dams and barrages diverting its water and restricting the flow. The water dwindles to ankle deep, impossible to navigate by swim or raft. You would have to slosh through on foot, dragging the raft along for several kilometers at a stretch. Bijnor brought us another interesting encounter, this time with Seabold's water snake, beautiful and venomous. Luckily, we found it sleeping, huddled under a raft, and had time to sidestep. The stretch from Bijnor to Farrukhabad was rich in wildlife due to the conservation initiative of both the reptilian and avian variety. The river erodes and cuts deep through the land, raising the bank, which have become perfect nesting ground for the migratory birds. And you can be sure of a visit by a freshwater turtle. There are 14 species of turtles in Ganga, which is amazing. We would see more ghadials, water snakes, and turtles throughout the journey. But the one creature we keenly scanned the river for every day continued to elude us. We were yet to spot the Gangetic river dolphin. Fishing is a huge commercial activity on the Ganga, and that meant fishing nets posing a great hazard to us, especially while swimming. These nets may look frayed, but they are sturdy enough to trap and drown their catch of any size or species. And after some bruises, we kept a safe distance from the net till the last point on our expedition. Meanwhile, shortly into the plains, the river began to show increasing level of pollution. It was like a dirty green amalgamation of chemical effluent, untreated sewage and garbage, and add to the mix, a decomposed body or two would be floating along on the surface. It was a wonder we could breathe, let alone swim. And we had no protective wetsuits, which is how I undertake all my swims. We would encounter at least 200 dead bodies in the water by the time the expedition ended. The many ghats all along the Ganga are cremation spots, as it is commonly known. Last rites usually take place here at sunset, coinciding with the time when we would end our day's swim and halt at a ghat. What would follow has been the most macabre happening I have ever seen in my life. The pyre would lit, and sometime later the people would leave. And now packs of hyena would quietly sling out of the shadow and reach the pyre, pull out whatever they could out of a dead body from the fire and drag it away, disappearing back into the shadows. I can still feel the horror of the moment. Thankfully, closer to Prayagraj and Varanasi, we had pleasanter sights, an amazing variety of birds from storks to ibis and lapwings. And then finally came the sighting we have been keenly waiting for, the elusive Gangetic river dolphins, called soos in local dialect, finally put in a playful appearance. Nothing is more pleasurable than watching a dolphin tease and play. And nothing is more essential than skills of reading and identifying the course of a river. There are many points where the Ganga branches out into multiple streams, which keeps changing every year with erosion and floods. One wrong turn and you could reach a dead end, miles away from the main stem. Fortunately, my experience on river stood me well, and I could identify the main stem. Or if nothing else, I could just ask direction from the next cow herd passing by. Each kilometers we covered on this incredible river brought us amazing sights like these old stone temples with beautiful sculpted spires and tiny remote villages that nobody knew existed. But along with the beauty also came some peril. These are the areas in northeast of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar where the illegal sand mafia operates. And when you combine that with a healthy dose of election fever, which was ongoing at that time, you can definitely have ready trouble on your hands. Suffice it to say that this sweaty group of sunburned, tired, half-clothed, unshaven men did not receive a warm welcome that night. There were even some gunshots fired. Each time we docked for the night, we could marvel at the stunning spot we found ourselves in. It could be white sandy beach stretching out for miles and so remote that any rescue was impossible from here. Or it could be a lush green fields wrapped in the winter mist. On the other hand, it could also be a stinky local garbage dump. And there's no stink that a good campfire with your mates can't help fix. Like when we got stuck in quicksand in the dead of the night and had to shout for the help, half the men of the nearby villages turned up with lathis. Or when a gang of monkeys looted all our supplies, leaving us with no food. A bonfire can even make the most miserable spot seem quite magical. Each day brought us a new experience, a new information, new sight. Like this time I saw fish do hop, skip and jump. Have you ever seen fish do that like children? And there was these beautiful riverine island called Diara. We went across for a quick visit to pray, but this temple had a strict dress code and our swimming trunks were definitely not on the list. The stretch through Jharkhand along the beautiful Rajmahal Hills was the shortest, but also quite challenging. I could not cut 2 strokes through the water without bumping into a water snake. The river was teeming with them. All I could do is to keep going, brushing them aside, or flinging them off to the nearest far side. We were now headed into the last stretch through the Hooghly, and the banks were greener with lush bamboo woodlands. Swimming through this blessed paradise was almost therapeutic. Long distance swimming is tough on the body and the nerves, and you get the whole lot of time to ask yourself, what was I really thinking? Should I have stayed at home? But then you get to swim through the beautiful S-bends of the Hooghly, through wetlands teeming with wildlife. And then you know why you do this. Closer to the sea now, we could feel the currents getting stronger with some tidal effect. The river water was getting saltier. The sea was pushing in salt water and tides, and the streamers chugged across regularly. The sea also brought us an extremely rare sight, the Ganges river shark, the rarest freshwater shark in the world. This unbelievable sighting for a few seconds left us tingling and silent for the rest of the day. The result was a hovercraft escort provided by the Coast Guard. Sharks perhaps don't like its vibration and will leave the swimmer alone. Perhaps. This epic expedition of my life finally culminated at Bakhali Beach in Fraserganj, right at the mouth of Ganga at the Bay of Bengal. To see this majestic river in all its glorious avatar till it merged with the sea has been my absolute honor. It took us 43 days to cover 2,800 kilometers and stake a claim on history as the first ever swim down the entire length of Ganga. Of course, there were after effects of this expedition. Sunburn for one, as we wore no wetsuits while swimming, just the basics. Loss of weight was almost 10 kgs in my case, which I quickly regained. Amazingly, none of the swimmers fell sick even through our 43 days on the river. While the rafters fell sick one after another and took turns to visit the nearest hospital. And since I am follicularly challenged, my head wasn't spared either. A few months ago, I enacted the same journey for the third time from Devprayag to the Bay of Bengal, and this time by kayak, and accompanied by the Minister of Jal Shakti and scientists from Indian Institute of Toxicology and Research and wildlife experts who were on the raft. This was the first ever comprehensive scientific study of the entire river by the Government of India. We could observe extremely positive changes in the water quality. Pollution levels are today much lower, with sewage diverted away from the river and very less plastic and other garbages as compared to earlier. These are very encouraging signs, and I must mention here the infamous Sisamau Nala, which has been polluting the Ganga for last 150 years, with Kanpur's entire sewage and industrial waste is now closed. As a result, wetlands have increased and more number of migratory birds could be seen. While earlier, almost 600 kilometers of Ganga were declared as ecologically dead zone. Now they are 0. Dolphin numbers have gone exponentially and sightings are more frequent. We could spot over 2,000 of them. Almost nil disposal of dead bodies in the river as compared to 2015. In fact, we saw just 3 to 4 as against few hundreds. The ghats are cleaner as people are becoming far more ecologically aware and responsible. The Ganga is fast regaining all its magic which was once lost. For me, Ganga will always hold immense fascination. Even after exploring her thrice, I know she still has many surprises and secrets. And of many of the honors she has brought my way, it is the name Gangaputra, which the villagers living along her bank has given me. That remains my most cherished award. The river is certainly a big part of me, and I feel like I'm a tiny part of her. I hope you have enjoyed my experiences as much I have enjoyed reliving them. I thank the IMF for this wonderful opportunity to tell my tale, and thank you for giving me your time.